So today we are joined by Kellie-Jay Keane. Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Kellie-Jay Keane, and in order, I am a mother, wife, woman, and a women's rights campaigner and party leader of Party of Women. And
Yeah,
I
it's so good.
also founded the Let Women Speak global movement of women's voices.
Excellent. And it's so good to have you on because this podcast was inspired by Let Women Speak because I just love going so much. So yeah, shall we talk about Whitley Bay first then? Because
Yes.
that was something that happened quite recently, and it happened because I stood for Party of Women, and then like from that I had I had the vision of having Let Women Speak at Whitley Bay, and it went so well. I loved every minute of it.
It was really well organized. The after event was great. The things that I especially loved about Whitley Bay is the location. Not just because it was beautiful, it was sunny, blue skies, and we were next to a beach, so it gave it a something different than maybe other Let Women Speaks, but also because so many people walk past.
Yeah,
That's
they did.
and you just picked up those people. The trans activists came, but they were quite rubbish, but they give you a bit of energy. So all in all, and I had fish and chips, which were lovely. So all in all, it was a really, really good event. Well done.
Yeah, and we had that TRA at the end as well, didn't we? That woman.
Yeah, which woman?
You know,
Oh,
the woman who
yes!
ripped up the
Oh,
flag?
yes! Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot about her. Actually, funnily enough, I was listening to quite accidentally, I was just curious, and it was a Kate Nash who was like, I think she's had 1 or 2 hits, but she came out with something called Germ, and, it's like anti-JK Rowling, anti-TERF sort of song. Anyway, I just happened to scroll and it's at this point, and I thought, "Oh, I recognise those words." And I think the, um, the woman who came and spoke, I think she was reading Kate Nash's lyrics. That's what
Someone
I
else
think.
said that on Twitter. X. I still call it Twitter. So, future for Let Women Speak and Party of Women. Obviously, they're separate, but they're quite interlinked, and people get mixed up. If they don't follow you really closely, they do get mixed up between what is Party of Women and what is Let Women Speak.
So, both kind of have the same aim, but you can only get so far with activism, and the doors are still closed. I thought, how am I gonna make sure that our voices actually get into the political arena? And what I've learned, even with parties that claim to know what a woman is and claim to be on the side of women, and for all intents and purposes, seem like they kind of get it, they don't get it. And they're
No,
never
they
going to go
don't.
far enough. So you always need to have an activist element. And the Party of Women was really about giving women a very sort of set idea about how they can get involved. So it gives you the protection of being a political candidate. It gives you the ability to get your message in places where you wouldn't normally get your message as an activist. So it really was like, how are we going to get through this particular obstacle of not being able to speak in Hustings? So that's what that was about. It was never really, it was about creating something where a conversation happened where other political parties would not be able to ignore it. It was never really about getting loads of MPs in Parliament, for example, although I do think we could do it. I certainly think that the build-up of local candidates is a good idea, but I think at the moment, because of the immigration issue, people are very much, if they're gonna go to an alternative party, they're gonna go to one that deals with migration and has a chance of power. Yeah, local councils, I think, is somewhere where we can certainly have organised party of women, lobby type groups going and doing little actions. We've got ideas about petitions, both with Let Women Speak and Party of Women, where you can ask questions, where you can go in the council chambers, and I think women really we are gonna have to start being that squeaky wheel.
Yeah, it was a really good idea. And I think that's one of the reasons that I put my name forward, put my name in the hat. It was because I had that protection if I came out. Like you have to you have to be given a platform really. Although saying that you weren't. So That was terrible. Like, I had a really good time during that election period.
Mm.
It was quite a come down at the end. I felt quite deflated and like, oh my God, what's next? And a bit lost if I'm honest. But for you, it was quite different. I don't know where you get your energy from
No, I
on that
don't
Zoom
either.
every single day.
Yeah, well, I think you've just got to, haven't you? I think when you know that something terrible is happening and you know that you have a particular talent, um, or ability to get a message to people that other people can't read, you do just have to do it.
Yeah, I felt like that. I felt like, in fact, I actually tried to persuade all my friends to stand first and they were adamant no. I was like, oh, it has to be me then. I think that was my kind of process of getting involved. But I did like really look into the risks and everything before I did it because I knew that it was quite a big risk.
Well, I think lots of people in this country, I think the reason it goes so bad so quick is so many people think someone will do it. They'll do it. That person will do it. Someone else will do it. And someone else is also saying someone else will do it. And in the end, you just have to think, well, I need to be that someone. I need to be the
Yeah.
someone that will do it because everybody else is hoping that there's someone and we can't all keep turning along the line and just passing it on to the next someone.
Yeah. What would you say that the achievements of Party of Women have been? Because I think we can move on too quickly without really taking stock of what we've achieved.
I think finding 16 women courageous enough to do it, I think is a remarkable achievement because we know, like everyone entering into it knew that the TRAs would go for them. They knew that it was going to be, for the middle of the road people, it was going to be quite an extreme thing to do because either people are already switched on to this issue or they think that it's a matter of kindness. So we were asking people to go really quite far out of their comfort zone in order to do that. So I think that's a massive achievement. I think getting through that process, because I think it's quite a difficult process, you don't have to be particularly intelligent to do it, but there are so many intricate, tiny steps, and we had hardly any time to do it. Because it was a snap election. So there are other small parties, very, very well established parties that didn't manage to field a single candidate. And we did 16, getting, I think, about 800,000 leaflets through doors in this country. So, potentially that's 800,000 people who didn't know that anyone was speaking about this issue at all. And also there were a couple of viral moments in the hustings. And I think even more than all of that, it's watching people that, like you, Kelly, you didn't want to do it. It wasn't like, oh, do you know, I'm going to be a political candidate. I'm going to go and run this particular gauntlet. I'm so excited. The whole sort of range of personality, and to watch those people transform from someone who had no interest, if you like, in becoming a candidate to becoming a candidate and learning the process and going out and doing everything that is required as a candidate. I think that it's really remarkable, and I just think it's transformative. So that's part of it. And just to extend that, that's also the same with Let Women Speak, because at the end of Let Women Speak, we used to organise all of it, but now women get so involved with the organisation of it that at the end, they've got a whole new skill set of thinking, "Oh my God, it's so daunting. I can't possibly do that," to, "I did that. Yeah, I could do that again."
Yeah, my friend was like, right, what's next? I like dragged her in, like known her for over 10 years and she hasn't really been involved, but she hasn't even been to a Let Women Speak, but I dragged her along and then afterwards she was like, right, what we're doing next? It was great. But yeah, it was the leaflets. The leaflets caused the most, like the amount of pushback, the emails that I got, all the grief on social media. Like the most commented on picture it wasn't even the leaflet, it was a picture of boxes, the back of my boot, my car with the boot open, with the boxes inside, and people were going, they really pushed loads of pushback on that.
Wow.
That was the thing. And then all the messages saying, do not come to my house and deliver that leaflet, that hateful leaflet. I was like, it wasn't
Crazy,
me,
isn't
it
it?
was Royal Mail.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's beautiful. I think that was one of the things I really loved, because we already knew before those leaflets went out, we all knew that they were fine, that they weren't
Yeah,
breaking any law. And, you know, it'd be balmy if it was deemed that they were. I mean, it would have been a
yeah.
great news story, but, yeah, it was good.
And of course, one of the candidates got arrested or was threatened with arrest. She wasn't actually arrested, but that's quite daunting as well.
Really mad, the whole thing.
Yeah,
I think, like, you've got Wales coming up and Scotland. Both of Scotland, I think, is next year, but the elections in Wales, I think they open many opportunities to really talk about this issue, and
yeah.
Scotland.
Yeah, talking about Hustings, I really enjoyed I was really nervous because it was held in the church where I used to go to brownies as a little girl, and there was more people there than I was expecting. I'd never even been
Really?
to a Hustings before. I didn't know what to expect, and of course, the MP that's in Tynemouth where I stood has been in since 1997. And he actually said, as part of one of the questions, that Reform were far right. And so I was like last because I was one of the smallest parties, and Reform weren't there. And I couldn't help myself. I got up and said, that's just a way of shutting people down. Women, they call women far right for fighting for our rights. One of the other highlights of that session was that, well, because it was a church, I felt quite uncomfortable saying the words penis and vagina in a church. And of course, my husband was like, they're perfectly valid words, it's fine. I was like, okay. So I kept apologising in the church. The vicar, who was female, was walking around smirking every time I said sorry, but it was just like rows and rows of older people. And I couldn't tell what they were thinking when I was speaking. Yeah, I think I'll
I
always
mean, I
remember
think
that.
they are dialogue. They are words that do get a response, and I think the reason I use them is because we are literally pretending that those things don't matter, and if the word matters, imagine the actual physical thing. If the
Yeah,
word penis is a bit like, then imagine seeing one in a female changing room. I mean, I
yeah,
think
exactly.
maybe, that would be a good way if somebody ever sort of said to you, "Oh, you said the word penis and vagina," just say, "Well, you know, imagine it's not just a word, it's a physical thing in front of your daughter's face in a changing room."
I think one of the reasons I had problems with saying it was because I must have been under 6 because we moved house when I was like 7, just turning 7. And my friend's older brother had a science book with the words in. So I knew, and I went home and said the word vagina, and I got into loads of trouble. Like, where did you hear that word? So I think I was a little bit traumatized from that. And
Yeah.
then here's me going into this church going, oh, vagina. But now I can say those words anywhere. I don't care. It's like desensitized them for me. So that's really good because
Well,
it's
you know, just
important to be
maybe
able to
don't say them
speak, isn't
everywhere
it?
all the time.
No, well, no, I don't. It feels like I do sometimes, but yeah. So more recently, we've had the Charlie Kirk situation. I was quite shocked when I heard, and I was actually. I released my podcast on a Wednesday at 8 o'clock, so I was in the live chat when I found out. And then I saw you go live as well, and I was like, oh, I can't watch the live because So I watched that afterwards, and then I just watched as you were told live on air that it had happened and how upset you were. And I think it's really shaken everyone.
Yeah, there's been, vigils in Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, like all the English-speaking countries which you would anticipate, but think what's happened is biblical. I think it has a significance beyond. If he lived to be 80, I don't think he'd make as much of a difference in the world than him being a martyr. And I think the fact that he was moderate, and even in death, people are making up stuff that he's said, I think is distasteful. But for the seismic shift in the left and within liberals is because I don't think they realized just how grotesque some people were. And I think the response to his death, the laughing, the glee, the inhumanity that's been shown, I think for some people that's been a big wake up call of, oh, okay, this is the logical conclusion of calling people Nazis and fascists and far right and homophobes and transphobes and all the other things that people get called. Uh, my son said he was talking to an adult friend of ours. Well, my son's an adult, but one of someone my age. And he said, "Oh, I didn't." And when he came back, he said, "Oh, I didn't realize that Charlie Kirk had said so many things." And I said, "Well, how is that a topic of? How is that being discussed? Like, how? Why? What?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, because this person I was talking to was saying that he had said about his daughter, she got pregnant, and he'd say she should keep the baby." And I was like, "How is that relevant? A, why is it relevant? B, I think that if you're pro-life because of your devout religious beliefs in God, then you believe that conception is always God's will, and therefore that is what you have to say. That's called a consistent ideological position. That's a consistent principle. So I don't agree with him at all. I don't agree with anyone who thinks that they would insist that a child gave birth to a child, like a child who had been raped had to give birth to a child. But that is a consistent point of view, and I think it's bonkers that people don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's different having an idea about something and actually being in that position. So you don't know
Mm.
what you would do if it actually happened, because it's not a real thing that's happened.
No, it's not. And I went to the vigil on Friday. That was quite lovely. And there were loads of Kiwis there, uh, who'd come over for the march on Saturday and the Free Speech Festival, whatever they're calling it. That was, it's all the podcasters that are there, all the men that go to Speaker's Corner. Was it was quite lovely. And then the march, they went over to, I thought they were going to Winston Churchill, because that's what had been said. But when we got to, they said, "Oh, we're going to go over to Winston Churchill." And when we got there were kind of barriers around it. So I wonder if that was on purpose. And then
Yeah, that's
so they
odd.
went to Gandhi, I think, instead.
Gandhi.
I think so. Might not have been.
Hmm.
I don't know if I looked
Yeah,
up.
there's so many statues there, aren't there?
I think it was Gandhi. Might not have been. I don't know. Might have even been Churchill. I just remember
Yeah.
thinking, I just went to Churchill and they were walking around that way, and I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna stay here because then I won't then I'll sort of be near the front and I can hear what's being said." But that they went to a different statue. Bit
Yeah.
more fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit too far for me to come for. Well, I mean, I was coming for the day already, and you have to plan when you live so far away from London. If I'm going to come, I have to know in advance and plan that. So, yeah, the things that I find out at short notice, I can't make it. But I think I would have liked to go to that if I was closer.
Yeah. I mean, I was in London, so I did a podcast in the afternoon, so it made sense to go. But I think it's devastating. I think it's seismic. And I think it's a day the world changed.
Absolutely. I think the way that the left, I'm going to say the left, have responded to the death with the laughter and the mocking and all of that, that's woken up a lot of people who weren't taking any notice. Everyone knows. Everyone's seeing
Yeah,
how
and
they're
then everyone's
responding.
watching his content as well. And I watched something yesterday where somebody was in like a Christian, and they went to church, and the second sitting there were queues all the way around the church.
So yeah, that I think it's quite I think it surprised a lot of people how strongly they feel about Charlie Kirk and what happened. I think when I first heard about it, I didn't really know who he was, and then I went and looked him up, and obviously I did know who he was. I just didn't connect the name and the face.
Mm.
Um but yeah, I think it's shocked me how I've reacted to it. Just feel the world feels different, and it makes you think twice about speaking out, but at the same time you know that you've got to speak out, because if you don't, it's worse.
Well, they win, don't they?
Hmm.
They win, and they've always tried this no debate, don't talk, because they know that what we have to say is persuasive and powerful and the truth. So they can't win like on in that arena. They just can't win.
No.
So It's always going to be them trying to shut us up, which is, yeah, like you said, that's exactly why we can't.
Absolutely. It's sort of, did it make you think twice about what you were doing when you saw that? No, it must have made you think, oh God, that could happen to me. Not that I bet you've thought about it before, but it brings it home, doesn't it?
Well, when I went to New Zealand, I did genuinely think I was going to die.
Yeah,
So I guess I've already I've already faced that particular thing. I mean, I guess I would think twice about going to America. And when I was in America in 2022, we were supposed to go to Portland and someone was raising money for weapons and so they could kill me. So I didn't go. And when I was in New York, I didn't even get to my event. There
yeah.
were so many police around it and they wouldn't let me through. The police were so rude, awful. And I said, "Oh, that's my event." And he said, "Oh, come with me." He took me around the back and he went, "You can't go in." I said, "But it's my event." He said, "Okay, we're not gonna let you in." So
Did they
I
give you a reason for not letting you in? So it wasn't because of the danger or,
no, but there were loads of trans activists, so it was already kicking off. It was
yeah,
already really bad.
yeah,
So I think I've kind of already faced it. I just don't think it's gonna happen to me. But once it's happened once, like, didn't JFK and Martin Luther King, they both died in the same year? I think. I
yeah,
think
I
they were
didn't
both
know that.
assassinated in the same year. I think maybe assassinations inspire others. And I have been concerned at, like, I was concerned enough to at Worthing, which was recent, which is a place near Brighton. So I made
Yeah,
sure I had protection then. But I don't always have protection. And I think I probably need to. Because in this country, it's unlikely you're going to get shot, but you might
yeah,
get stabbed.
yeah.
So having protection means that I'm less likely to get stabbed. So I think I might sort of have a little drum up some funds to make sure. But my 16-year-old said about Charlie Kirk, and he said, "Oh, we don't have guns though, do we?" Like, "Oh, that's not going to happen to you, is it? Because we don't have guns." And he was looking for reassurance, and I was just like, "No, no, we don't have guns." It's so easy, isn't it? Just
Hmm.
one mad, just takes one mad person who's kind of fixated, and I've got enough of them.
Yeah,
Like, I genuinely like, we just have you seen the Susie Green T-shirt? Susie Green runs an organization
yeah,
called Ann Plus or something, and, she put a list of dead names. Sharon Davis reached out to me, so I'm gonna meet her this week. She lives quite near me.
yeah,
So I think it would be quite powerful if we both reported that to the police and, also J.K. Rowling, Maya, and, Graham. It'd be good if we all reported it, 'cause I genuinely think if Lucy Connolly can go to prison for saying they can burn for all I care, not let's burn them,
yeah.
not let's all go and burn the hotels, meet me at 3 o'clock, but they can burn them for all I care. And I think the for all I care is the really important bit. I don't see why a list of 2025 list or the list of 25 whatever it is, I can't remember exactly what's on the T-shirt, and saying dead names with our names crossed out. I think, I think that is an incitement to murder.
It's quite chilling.
Mm.
Does it upset you when you see stuff like that? Or are you just used to it?
Yeah, yeah, I'm quite used to it, and it just means I don't know. I decided a really long time ago, Kelly, that whether it's the greatest compliment or the most vile criticism and insult, I have to discount both.
Yeah,
Because often when people say really lovely things about me or to me, it's what they've decided that I'm like. So the most devoted fans, if you want to call them fans, as opposed to like a supporter, but like a devoted fan, they're the people that then turn on a sixpence. Like, just I'll say something they don't like, and then that's it. They hate me. So I think you just have to not listen to either extremes, and actually not listen to much, because most of the things I do is because I think they're right and I'm just going to do them. And either people like it or they don't. And actually, I think over the years, what people like is the fact that I just do exactly what I think I should do. And I think in a world of kind of buzzwords and press releases and what's it called when it's like it's like a tiny phrase or something. It's
Like a
quite,
slogan.
yeah, slogans, and I can't even think of the word. But in a world where everything is about appealing to as many people as possible, sound bites. There you go.
Yeah.
In a world of sound bites, people are just dying for someone who's actually just seems like a normal person who just speaks the truth. Even like, and I mean, maybe I'm just basing this on myself, but I would rather have a conversation with someone who had deeply held beliefs and views that I disagreed with wholeheartedly than somebody who just doesn't, who just says whatever they think you want to hear, and I
Yeah, I
think that's
hate
where
that
we
as
are.
well. Yeah, I've always been a bit too honest.
Yeah.
It gets me into trouble, and I'm like, oh, I'm becoming a bit more, well, a bit better at the social side of things, but I just come out with stuff and then I go, oh God, did I say that out loud?
Well, and I think people either get that or they don't. And a lot of, I mean, women in particular find that quite difficult to deal with.
Yeah,
But I had to tell some women the other day, I was like, look, just enter conversations in good faith. And, we have to accept it, particularly in Let Women Speak and Party of Women. We have to accept that we're the difficult women. We've probably always annoyed quite a few people with the
I'm
things
always
that they
annoying
don't want to
people.
hear. And when all of us come together and there's a lot of not similar personality types, but certainly difficult women, we have to really fix ourselves on what is the focus of why are we here, why are we involved with each other, how are we going to get to that place that we all want to go, because trying to find a fence and falling out over silly things or arguing or whatever, we're not going to win. We're not going to get very far very fast. So, I mean, I don't have to do that because I play a different role in this. So I don't have
Um,
to rub along nicely so well as everybody else.
no, I think it has been quite challenging. Like, when I was involved in organising the Motormouth event, and that was quite tricky. Just all the personalities involved, and I think it was new that Let Women Speak were doing locals at that point as well. So it hadn't really been done differently before. So there was a lot of tension,
Mm.
and a lot of women fell out. But I try and let everything go over my head. It's like, it's not personal. People too have different agendas. They have different motivations. And I try not to take anything personally. And like, I would work with anybody, but not everybody feels the same as me. So
Yeah, and I think some people deal with things differently as well. Like sometimes I think also what happens is like there's egos involved, like not particularly Morpeth, but in
yeah,
in lots where, a certain type of woman comes to Let Women Speak. There are other organizations that are full of different sorts of women. And it's the same as if you've ever volunteered at your children's school. There's a woman who wants to run the PTA. And she wants to make sure she knows that that table's next to that table, and she doesn't want the baked potatoes put in the oven before 3 o'clock. And it's really important to her. Like her ego depends on it. And oh my God, I can't believe you put buttercream in. There's those women. And those women, whilst can be really annoying, they also get lots done. They
yeah,
do turn up at every meeting. They
yeah.
do they are there beforehand, putting the chairs out, and at the end, putting the chairs away. They are those women. So we do have to try and find a way of working with those women. And as you well know, it'll be the same women that turn up every time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I try and do. Try and see the best, like notice what people are doing and how they're contributing and focus on that rather than,
Yeah.
she did
And we
this
hear
and
things with an emotional ear. We
yeah,
often hear, so when someone says, "Oh, I don't think that's a very good idea. I think we should meet at 3:30." What you can hear from that is, "Your idea is rubbish. Why would you even think about meeting at 3 o'clock? That's ridiculous. Nobody wants to meet you that early." As opposed to somebody just saying, "Oh, I think that's a good idea that we meet." And we remember things with an emotional brain as well. We're women, so we can do the best stuff together, but it's difficult.
yeah, it is. It's challenging at times. And as well as this thing about success as well. When you have any success, then women don't always like that.
Well, I think we're motivated more than we like to admit with envy. And envy comes in many forms. Like someone might be envious of the way you look. It can be like your success. It can be your friendships. It can be like what your husband buys you for your birthday. Like there's all, I know a young woman and she just couldn't, like 5 years of trying, they couldn't have babies. So she was, while all her friends were having babies and she was like so upset about it, her husband was buying her designer handbags and a nice car and they were going on these lovely holidays. But that's because every month was another we can't have a baby month, you know?
Yeah,
And so she's mortified and I guess she must be envious that they're all having babies and they're all thinking, I don't want to see your handbag. I don't want
yeah,
to, you're showing off about your handbag. And so I do think we compete more than we care to admit, but it's covert and women won't admit that they want what that woman wants. So
yeah,
nobody would say, I want that handbag. Instead, they'd say it's crap that she's got a handbag.
yeah.
And like they'd rather say it's a terrible thing than admit, I would like that. Like, oh, I would like Kelly's business. They're not going to say that. They're going to
No.
say, oh, she goes on about her business all the time. Like, and how many staff she's got. And oh, she's away again. I've just seen another. No, that's how they deal with it.
Yeah, but they don't say all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes and what I have to do and all the issues that we have. Like, I mean, there's always problems that you have to deal with. So they don't say
Yeah, but they'd
that
be
because you
even
can't
envious
tell
of that.
everyone.
But I think they'd be envious of that. I think, like, really what that is that they haven't done the hard work. They haven't thought of the business. They haven't, and so it doesn't really matter whether what you've achieved comes with hard work and personal sacrifice and, they just want it.
Hmm. Talking about handbags, actually, it reminded me of something someone I know told me. She used to get a handbag every time her husband had an affair. So you just, you don't know what's going on, do you?
I
She's
don't have
divorced
any
now.
bags.
Yeah, many years divorced. She's married to someone else now. So it's not like, it wasn't, she's moved on, but she told me that story and I just thought, yeah, you just don't know what's going on for people.
No, you have no idea, do you? You have no
No,
idea. And like wanting a baby, being desperate to have a baby. I mean, she's actually expecting a baby now. But I think she just thought that was never going to happen for her. So now she's got handbags and a baby.
it's lovely. She probably won't want to use her handbags now. She's like, all the things you have to do when you're a mother.
She'll probably have like a Louis Vuitton nappy bag or something.
This is the thing. Like, I had my children really, really young, and I was a single parent. And I think I didn't realize it at the time, but I had a lot of women who were envious of me for staying at home with the children because they weren't able to. But the sacrifice of that was that because I wasn't working, I was relying on benefits and all of the like shame, I suppose, that goes with that. But actually, I think now I'm kind of making up for it by having a business and trying to contribute back and put me back into the system and stuff. But that it isn't logical, is it?
No, none of it's logical. Some girls, you'll look at them and you think they've got everything, and there'll just be that one thing that you kind of reflect that they wish they had or were like. Like, I think non-compliant women, which I would include, like, both of us, non-compliant women remind other women that they're not brave enough to be non-compliant. And that's I think that's why a lot of women dislike me. I mean, it might also be because I'm a bit of a dick in many instances, and I don't care. But I think usually the reason we don't like someone is something about us
Yeah,
that they remind us.
definitely.
Even if it's an opposite, it's not always like a point of envy necessarily. But I'm sure if I met someone that was quite similar to me, I'm sure I'd really dislike that person.
Yeah.
So like, let's say they were a stone lighter, 10 years younger, like a better version of me. I'd hate it. That would be the worst probably for everyone, wouldn't it? If you saw
Yeah.
even a slightly better version of yourself, like more attractive, better money,
I
slightly
don't
kind of.
think there's anybody like me, to be honest.
Well, I would probably agree, like, for both. probably everyone. You don't often meet people like yourself, but I suspect the people I dislike the most are people that remind me of either my flaws or are very similar to me.
Yeah, definitely. So do you find it easier being around men?
Yeah. I tell you what, so I went on the march and I had a couple of the security that had decided to look after me. We were supposed to be right at the front. And then what happened as we came out, loads of people just cut in.
Yeah.
They weren't sort of held back. So once the front people were all holding the thing, we were supposed to be there as well. Anyway, I've never been somewhere like in such a huge crowd of loads of people going on, mind the step. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Coming through and just real chivalry. It was very odd, but it was lovely.
Yeah, I was there as well. Obviously not at the front. I was at the back, so I didn't get to hear any speeches or anything. But we ended up, well, we were just surrounded by, there was mostly men, but it was like working class, like proper masculine men. And it was just so lovely. Everyone was polite. Everyone, like, we're often, I would bump into people, or people would bump into me, and it was like, oh, sorry, and would smile at each other. It was just lovely. And that's exactly what it was like on the lockdown marches as well, because I was like quite a regular attender of those as well. Exactly the same, except there was more women on those ones. But I've
Right.
been on a Tommy Robinson one before, and it was exactly the same. It was very male energy, but there
Mm.
was something just really wholesome about it because, men have been encouraged to be feminized and feminine, and like it's just, I don't know, there's just something about that masculine energy that Katie Hopkins has gone on about before. She's funny when she talks about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was in this pre-event area, round this, like, round the back somewhere, and, before the march, and I'm sat on a table with Katie Hopkins, Tommy Robinson, Liam Tufts, oh, the guy who's Ant Middleton,
Lawrence Fox, he was there, wasn't he?
Lawrence was there, and Lawrence's wife, and everyone was just really nice.
Yeah.
Like, just the whole thing was really nice. And then I spent most of the day with a woman called Hannah Tamiki, who was Brian. Brian spoke on the stage, and I spent the day with his wife because she's from New Zealand. And then all the Maoris and her
Saw the
family,
picture.
and people were ringing home, and I was saying hello to them. Because obviously in New Zealand, because of what happened, so for your audience, I went to New Zealand and genuinely thought I was going to lose my life, and it's all live streamed on my channel. And so, like, that changed New Zealand. Like, not, I mean, nothing in comparison to other events, but this particular event of being able to talk about men and women's spaces, that significantly altered with my event because I think people saw what was happening. And so, yeah, I'm I'm a bigger deal in New Zealand than maybe I would have been had I not nearly lost my life. And then I had to go into armed protection. So the nature of it was loads of TRAs came out. The police didn't do their job. The police were nowhere to be seen. I had about 10 security. And then they had to link arms around me to get me out of this mob that had turned insane and really violent and aggressive. And I thought I was starting to fall at one point. I thought if I hit the floor, I'll never get back up. So I can't hit the floor. Got to the edge of the park, got in a police car because the police were right at the edge. There was about 2,000 people. Got right to the edge and then got in a police car and thought I was going to be tipped over. I thought they were going to tip the police car. We rushed away. I was under armed protection in the police station, got an armed escort into the airport police. So I was there for a bit and then armed escort through the airport to get on the plane. And then when I got on the plane, the police had said that they'd stay at the airport until I'd gone. And then I flew home.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't watch that live, thank goodness. I found out afterwards and I knew you were okay when I watched it back. But oh my, it was horrible. That just, God knows what your husband thought when he was watching it because he was
Well,
watching
he was about
live.
30 seconds behind. So he'd watched all the others and he's used to there being like
Yeah.
trans activists and whatever. But he could then see people going, oh my God, is she all right? Oh my God. So he was like 30 seconds behind. So then he just got me a nice flight home.
Yeah. It's good that you've got such support behind you.
I don't think I could do it otherwise. Just, I mean, my youngest child was about 8 when I started this, maybe 7. And it was, yeah, I did a bit of it, but I didn't go away anywhere until way after lockdown. And I
Yeah.
started going away. But just terrible, terrible. It doesn't make any, it makes all the sense in the world and no sense. Like this whole immigration thing. I believe the pretending that people can change sex is the biggest lie. Like, it's so ridiculous that we even have to have conversations about it. Whereas immigration, I think you can see the issue right in front of you and you can agree or disagree. Like, I guess it's also lies. Um, there's a woman that did Strictly that was on Good Morning this morning, and she was talking. In fact, I'm gonna have to do a video about it because it's mad. She might be Sikh and from, like, Indian heritage, and she was saying, "Oh, I was frightened to take my brown child into London this weekend." And then she said, and then I met one of the guys, and he was, like, getting food from a Malaysian, and he was really nice, and we had a chat. So she had this preconceived idea that as with brown skin, she wouldn't be safe in London. Like, I don't know where that had come from, but she just decided that it was like she called it a far right march still. Even though
Yeah.
the only person she's ever spoken to who's gone to any of these marches was a perfectly decent person, she still continued calling it far right. And I just thought, you're wrong about it. And even when presented with evidence that proves that you're wrong about it, you're still going to keep saying it so that other people, the next time there's a march, think the same as you. Whereas actually, what you should have done as a grown woman is maybe have a few more conversations and then ask yourself the question, am I wrong?
Yeah, it's that propaganda though, isn't it? And it's like the psychological techniques that they use to brainwash people. That's what they do with the media. I
So
think
frightening, though.
it's powerful, and it took the lockdown to make me go, hang on a minute, what? And then when they started talking about people like me as anti-vaxxers and lockdown deniers and God knows what, I was like, hang on a minute, just a woman asking questions. I thought it was okay
Yeah.
to ask questions in this country, but it's
Yeah,
not. Right, well,
anti-vaxxers as well. What, by not taking a vaccination
huh?
that, like,
I
it
don't
was
need.
made overnight for a problem that has just occurred?
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
I did have vaccinations because I wanted to go to America, and I regret it, really deeply regret it, because I do believe lots of the evidence that's come out since. So I
Absolutely. And
regret it.
I was hearing that evidence in real time as I was, because I was like, hang on a minute, and I started taking notice, and I think yeah, that was when they started forcing our care staff. That was just horrific, and they bullied us as well. It wasn't just oh, you have to encourage them. Oh well, could take your registration off you. So we would have lost the business if we hadn't gone along with it, and we were put in that position, not agreeing with it, but not being able to say no. So thankfully they overturned it in the nick of time, so we didn't have to implement that, because that's the cornerstone of cares, to be able to say no, the right to
It's
refuse.
so disgusting, isn't it? Because the same people, and people quite close to me, they were going out every, what was it, Tuesday or Thursday night, clapping.
Thursday.
They were the first bloody ones to be saying they should have the vaccination. I was like, hang on a minute. When it COVID, um, and my husband watched all the updates, so all these many people have died. I was like, I don't believe it. Like, I don't
Yeah,
believe it. I don't think they have. I'm not buying any of that. And I was very much like, don't tell me anymore, because I don't believe it, and I'm not buying into any of this. But yeah, people close to me who were clapping, and then they were the ones that were like, yeah, they should have it. And I was like, hang on a minute. When COVID was like an unknown, because right at the beginning, I knew about it in January because they started closing factories in China, and I happened to know people who were doing business in China, so I knew it was
yeah,
serious. But I didn't know that I they all people in power knew that was happening in China. And we were still letting people from China here. And also, I think they had it quite bad in Italy, where loads of people. And my second child was born during SARS, where when you came over, my parents lived in China. So when they came over from China, they couldn't see my newborn son for 2 weeks because they had to be in quarantine away from the
Yeah.
baby. So, and this is SARS, whatever, isn't it? It's just another SARS, this COVID. And so I knew it was happening. And I also lost my sense of smell before any lockdown. So I had no taste and no smell, no other symptoms whatsoever. And then
Yeah.
when I Googled it, after quite a few weeks of going, "Oh, I haven't got a cold. I don't know what's the matter with me." My husband works in an industry where he's got a few clients, and they were saying that because of the algorithms and so many people searching with this, like, no smell, no taste, but no other symptoms, they then knew that that was a symptom of COVID. But
Yeah.
anyway, the idea is, if you're okay and you're clapping every Thursday for the people that are in those nursing homes, often with not the right equipment, totally at risk of catching something that at that time we had good reason, or we had no further information, normal people, that it wasn't a really deadly, highly contagious illness. And you're all right with them doing that. And now we know it's subsided somewhat and we're protecting people, that you're then saying they should have a vaccination. Are you nuts?
Yeah,
It doesn't make
And they said that people who had already had it should have a vaccine as well, our staff. Like, there was no reason. There was nothing that you could say that would stop them from saying you have to have it. It was just insane. But thank goodness there was a big march in London, and that's what overturned it.
So are your clients elderly?
Mainly. But we have
Yeah,
younger ones as well. But it's
right.
community care. So at that time when the lockdowns were first happening, I was actually going out and doing care because I used to be a carer. So that's, when the business was new, I used to do care as well. And the roads were just empty. It was just the most bizarre feeling, being out and about in the sunshine. The roads were empty. But then, like, I didn't really work evenings, but I would hear, like, the other carers saying, "Oh yeah, all the street were clapping," when I went in the street, and I was mortified. And one of the staff had a job as a delivery driver as well, like one of the office workers, and he was getting clapped, and he was so embarrassed. He just hated it. He hated the attention.
But I mean, what I think a country, I probably should finish that word, but what I think is just devastating is that some people, some vulnerable people, lonely, elderly people living on their own, spent their last few months of their life not really seeing anyone.
Yeah.
Just,
I was going to a woman who she had that on the TV all the time, and I just thought, turn it off. Please
and
turn it off.
there was a woman that tried to take her mum out of a care home. She
Oh,
wasn't
that was
allowed.
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Absolutely. You have no idea. You have no idea.
We actually had some clients who were breaking the rules, and we were told that we had to tell them off for it.
I mean, some of these people had been through the war.
I know.
And maybe as like kids or teenagers or whatever, but it's just terrible. And that set us up for more tyranny.
Yeah, it
And
did. But that's
I
what
don't
that's what
understand.
woke loads of people up though. Like, I was going to the lockdown marches with this woman who's actually, her child's actually trans, and so she
You
was
feel
telling
threatened.
me, yeah, it's not her. She is totally against it. So she was telling me that she couldn't get a hysterectomy that she needed, but her daughter was going to have a double mastectomy on the NHS during lockdown and everything. Awful. And that
Jesus.
her daughter's now pregnant and is in a relationship with a gay man.
I get men doing. I don't get anyone doing it, but a man doing it for a sexual fetish is one thing. But I also understand a girl who's deeply homophobic who can't accept being a lesbian. But a girl doing it, a heterosexual girl doing it, I think is probably the most mental kind of. I don't get that. And then to have a baby, and I bet she does more of the housework. I bet she lives like just as
Probably.
much if not more so, female sort of existence than I do.
So
I don't
it's
do
like,
any
it's
housework.
been 10 years since she transitioned, but she's registered as a man, so they can't take. I think she said that she can't register the pregnancy information. If she was as if she was if she was a woman, should just, you have all your records of your pregnancy. They can't do that because she's a man legally.
She'll also not be able to register that. I wonder how, right, so when you register a baby, if you're not married, although she might be married, but if
Don't
you're
think
not
they're
married, a woman has to register, don't we? Because
Yeah.
we're the guaranteed kind of connection to did my husband, no.
No,
I
if you're
think,
married, you don't have to be there. But if you're not married, the man has to be there to be on the birth certificate.
but also the man can't go and do it. It's got to
No,
be
not
the
if you're not
woman.
married. If
Right.
you're married, you can.
So how do these, and you have to have a mother so she's going to be the mother.
She wants to be called dad.
Oh,
And
what a
of course, the
selfish.
mother and daughter don't agree, but they just kind of manage to get along without talking about it, or without I think they just manage to accept that each other doesn't agree with the other. But it must be so hard to live like that.
I don't think I could do it, actually. I don't think I could do it. I think it's incredibly abusive to bring a child into the world and deny them that you're the mother. Like, incredible. So before that baby's born, she's an abusive mother. And I think you've probably got a very mad personality disorder if you're doing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, fancy dress, because it's kind
Well,
of just
say what you really
extreme.
think.
I don't think you should be able to, she might as well be she might as well be taking smack for all. I think it's the same. In
Yeah, I
fact,
don't think she's
smack
on
is probably not as
testosterone
bad.
at the moment. I
He's
don't
not.
know, though. I don't think
No, but
so.
I just mean, once you have a
I know.
baby, you can't become an alcoholic, you can't become a drug addict, you can't pretend you're the opposite sex. Like, there's loads of things that you can't do and be a good parent. And I think pretending to be the opposite sex is one of them. So that's just my
Yeah,
hardline view.
I think in the abstract, I find it easier to say those things, but I think it's harder to say when you know the person involved.
Yeah. Well, I can say it because I don't know her, and I probably would say it if I did.
Yeah.
But, it's not you can say whatever you like. Yeah. I've said it about men that transition. I think it's incredibly abusive. And yeah. In practical terms, you have a tiny little baby and you have made a decision that they've got nobody to call mum. And there's a documentary that I watched where there's two women who I would say were narcissistic personality disorder sociopaths. And they both decided they were men. And one of the kids, like, one of them had two kids that were like cheerleaders. The little boy had an issue at school because a kid said, "You haven't got a mum." Like, not, "You haven't got a mum," but, "You haven't got a mum, have you?" And the boy
Yeah.
got really upset. And when that issue was taken into the home, they all decided that the other little boy was mean. But he was about 4. And then then the two mums, calling themselves men, met so these two girls could meet and exchange how difficult it is that their selfish mothers had decided to be men. And one of the girls says she goes to grief counselling to grieve her mum. Well, her mum's right there.
Yeah.
So it's profound. It really is profound abuse.
Mhm.
And yeah, I can say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have fallen out with lots of other women who have got trans children, particularly when I said it out loud for the first time. Got a lot of pushback from people who I know. And actually, there was a woman who I didn't really get on with, who is very attention seeking, who I've just found out she's got 4 children, 2 of them are trans. I've only just found that out recently.
Uh, It's
It's
Do
just
something with your own
everywhere.
life, ladies. Like,
I
for
know.
God's sake, be your own hero. Don't kind of I I think a lot of these are like Instagram mums. They want likes and clicks and they want to be told that they're amazing mothers. Just gross.
But when everybody realizes what the harm that's happening because of it, because people they don't realize. I
No.
think when I started, because I used to go along with this, I can't believe I did, but I did, to be nice and all that. And when I started looking into it, I just kept coming across like even more worse things. And I was like, how bad is it going to get? Is this like the worst, or am I going to find something else? And it was about the time that the W Path files came out. And I was like, I think it was just so shocking when I
Mm,
realised the depths of it.
yeah. I mean, a woman that did the legwork on all of that is Genevieve Gluck.
Yeah,
And I think they ripped loads of her work actually without attributing it to her. But she'd done a lot of it on the eunuch,
yeah,
the weird eunuch fetishy thing.
yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing before that point.
I used to do a few interviews during lockdown, and I interviewed a young man, and he had only thought he was a woman for about 6 months, and he had his penis removed, and then after about a year or 6 months to a year, he knew it was wrong, so he had a year in his life where he had a disordered mind and thought that he was a woman or might be a woman or would be better off as a woman, and in that time, he thought he was a man and then thought he was a man again, and just 1 year space where he had his penis removed.
It's shocking that they did that so quickly. Well, I mean, it's shocking that they do it at all, but it's shocking that they did that so quickly.
And I met a girl who within 6 months of having her breasts removed regretted it. Like, these
You've
are
got to
not stable people.
like having had children, you know what happens after you have a baby in your breasts. Like, you produce milk and that can be quite painful when the milk's coming in. And I didn't realise that until quite recently when someone was talking about that
Mm,
had actually happened. They'd had their breast removed and then had a baby and it was really painful. And then they couldn't feed the baby. There's just so much harm.
yeah, and I do think men having testosterone and then having female hormones, I think is a dangerous mix, and I think we're gonna see more violence from those men when some of them who've been messed around with, their bodies messed around with it with as kids, and then they're, like, 25 and they can't have any sexual pleasure.
Yeah,
What is that gonna do to that man? Because
yeah,
it would make me murderous. If I thought that my parents, just for likes and clicks on Instagram, had actively encouraged, because it's not just kids that say I'm trans at like 14. There are some kids whose mums are saying they're trans at 5 and they're
yeah.
coerced all the way through this process. And they're going to come out the other end and ask just what their parents had done to them. And there was a kid in New York, a boy, and he killed his dad.
Wow.
Like, what have you done to me? He killed his
Yeah,
dad. I think it's surprising there's only been one of those
one that we
killings, to
know
be honest.
about.
I
Yeah, I
think,
suppose we
yeah,
would hear about that, wouldn't we?
I think there'll be lots.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
just look
quite.
out for women killing, grown women killing their parents, and then maybe we ought to start thinking, well, that's probably a man
Yeah,
killing his parent.
you've got to ask questions when you see the headlines, don't you?
I know. Woman missing. Is it? Is it with that jaw? Is that a woman? And then I find myself now going, it's quite tall. And I do checks now.
Yeah,
I think often men just look like men instantly,
yeah,
but I suspect taller, bigger built women are having a few more looks because
yeah,
we're in an age where there's so many men that dress, pretend to be women, that we don't just take it in good faith. I mean, and that's if you haven't seen them walk. If you see them walk and it's in the flesh, then you usually
yeah.
can tell in an instant.
It is easier in the flesh. The other group of women who I'm really had a few on the podcast, the trans women, they've just been through such hell.
The widows.
Yeah, the trans widows. Sorry, did I say trans women?
Yeah.
Yeah, the trans widows, they are it's heartbreaking
Well, it's
listening to
coercive
their story.
control, isn't it? They're
Yeah,
just victims of
absolutely.
abuse, like any other abuse.
And then when you tell anyone who's like on the other side or doesn't know very much, they're like, oh, but that can happen in any relationship. And I'm like, yeah, but society doesn't celebrate it.
Yeah. No one's saying to if someone punches their wife and she gets a beating, like, every other week. No one's going, "Well done. Oh,
Yeah,
you're so
exactly.
brave. Well done," to the
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
And I think what people don't realize, and you will, is that it starts with something simple like, they just start painting their nails,
Yeah.
or they just start like a tiny bit of eyeliner, and then they wear it in the house, and then they wear it out the house, and then they just slowly erode this woman's boundaries. I did a talk just on one of my live streams years ago on fetish, and how actually you just become a prop. Like, you could be anyone.
Mhm.
Like, they're not in love with you, they need you for a prop for their
Yeah.
fetish. So, I had a friend, for example, and she went on a first date, and the first date, he brought a pair of, like a fishnet body stocking thing for her to wear, and she said, "Oh, he makes me feel so sexy and attractive," and I was like, "If he brought it, that's was the important element. Like, you're not." Anyway, she ended up going out with him for years, and at the end of it, he'd been really, really abusive. But anyway, so I was talking on the live, and I was like, "You are just a prop, and you need to be mindful, because that person will just operate in a way," which is what the men do who pretend to be women. They operate in a way so that you continue to be the prop. They're not really interested in anything else. So I think some of these men go from disengaged, quite misogynist men, and then they start being more chatty. So the women are kind of fooled into thinking, this is nice, but that's just the role that they're playing, so
Yeah.
that you don't leave them, so that when they say they're a lesbian, that you'll stay and you'll say, oh, yes, I love it. Like, you're such a sexy woman, or whatever. Anyway, so I was talking about this, and I met this woman in America, and she had tuned in to that moment, that fetish talk I was giving, and she left her husband because she realized in that moment, like, everything just suddenly
Fell
fell
into
into
place.
place.
Yeah.
That she realized that actually everything else was just a lie, just to get her to the point of allowing him to. I think he was sort of dressed as a woman, and wanted to be, wanted to be submissive, and that was all. So he would just do everything to satisfy that fetish. And I think the reason so many men get away with all this is we have no idea about normal men's sexuality, let alone fetish. We just have
Absolutely.
no idea.
It's hard for women to understand the power behind that testosterone and that male sex drive.
I was explaining it to someone the other day, and I was like, when you just want chocolate,
Mhm.
like, it's just on the tip of you can almost taste it. I was like, well, times that by infinity, and you're somewhere near it.
Yeah, it is, and I'm getting lots of women messaging me about it now as well, because I've got a bit of a higher profile and they're seeing me videos, and that's really hard because a lot of them don't want me to share what they've said to me.
I know,
So
but
you must
sometimes they
get a
just
lot
want to say
more.
it. They just want somewhere to put that. So, and that
Mhm.
you might be their first step. You might be the first time they've ever admitted that what is going on.
This is a thing though in the counselling world, because obviously I do counselling. I'm seeing a lot of the counsellors that they're not doing what I was trained to do. Don't know if their training was different or what, but the whole ethos of counselling is to put the person who's in front of you in the centre of everything that you're doing. Person-centred counselling. That is what it is. But these women are being told that they have to go along with it, and they're like being manipulated by the man. But like, I'm getting kicked out of counselling groups for asking questions that are quite reasonable, and just piled on for saying the things that I am saying. And then you've got the affirming counsellors who find out my views because it's all over the place. It's not hard to find out.
Mm.
And then they're interested in referring people on, but they won't refer them to me because I'm not going to affirm. So they
Wow.
won't refer to me. And so the women they're not able to get the help that they need.
No. Well, it will eventually change. And I think that trans widows are they're a group of very traumatized women,
Definitely.
and often very angry. So that's the anger bit can be a good driver.
Yeah.
Traumatized bit just makes them a bit vulnerable, but yeah. Well, now they've got you.
Yeah, they have. On that note, shall we wind things up? Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a really interesting conversation.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
I just wanted to take a moment to speak directly to the women listening who might be struggling in silence. So maybe you're living with the fallout of a husband or partner who's suddenly decided he's a woman, leaving you feeling confused, coerced, or even pressured into things you never consented to. Maybe you're a mother with a daughter or a son who now says they're trans, and you're carrying the heartbreak of that loss without anyone around you really understanding. Or maybe you've been cancelled, silenced, or bullied in your workplace, in your family, or even online, and you're left questioning your reality, your confidence, and your sense of self. If any of that sounds familiar, I just want you to know that you're not alone, and you don't have to keep pushing through it on your own strength, because that's exactly why I offer counselling for women. It's a private, safe, and non-judgmental space where you can say the unsayable. And I know how hard it can be to put words to feelings of betrayal, grief, or anger, especially when the world around you just wants you to be quiet. In our sessions, you'll be heard, believed, and supported without judgment. My work is grounded in person-centred counselling, but I also bring in other tools like inner child work, trauma-informed approaches, and relational models to help you uncover what's really going on beneath the surface. Together we'll explore how the past is shaping the present, untangle the dynamics of coercive or narcissistic relationships, and give you space to grieve losses that others might dismiss or deny. The women that I work with often tell me that our sessions give them clarity, strength, and the ability to start making decisions that honour their own needs, sometimes for the first time in years. And so whether you're trying to rebuild after coercion, come to terms with ambiguous loss, or simply reconnect with who you are, therapy can be the place where you start to feel like yourself again. And I offer a free, no obligation consultation so that you can see if working together feels like the right fit. There's no pressure, just a chance to talk about what you need and how I might be able to help. You can find out more at kellieoliverdougall.co.uk. You deserve a space where you are truly heard, and if this speaks to you, I'd be honoured to walk alongside you on your journey of healing and strength.